Hello, welcome to this video. Thank you so much for tuning in, sharing in this now moment with myself and with one another. If you haven't seen these videos before, welcome back. If you have, my intention is unity and oneness. I just want to go in a little flow with the guides. This is going to be maybe part two of a video that I just did, where I talked about the energies of yin being the kind of energy theme of the now. So I invite you to go back and watch that video if that's something that interests you. The other theme that they talked about was turtle grounding, as well as going the distance. And so I don't know if that's going to be exactly what this topic is going to be, but I just kind of came off of that video and I'm going in to start this video next. So they might be connected, would be my guess. And I'm just going to go into my heart space and tune in and see what the guides have to share in flow about whatever might be helpful for the collective or whoever's watching this video. And so our energies are now moving in a push-pull sort of fashion, if you will. And while it may be fashionable to push against the current or to feel as if we are pushing against something that we no longer want, we would advise you, as future versions of you, we might say, or part of this energetic soup that each and every one of us exists within. We might advise you, if we were to call us an energy that is or has or will be moved on from this particular time frame of existence of great changes and maximum fluctuations, we would invite you, instead of advising per se, to allow the energy to move through you. And so we understand there are multiple questions. Who are we? We are an energetic convergence, if you will, of frequencies and beings who are connected to the field that each and every one of you is connected to and through. You could say that we are part of the medium in which you rose from, if you will. We are part of the medium of energies and frequencies and beings who are aspects of each and every one of you, for we are all connected to and through from source frequency, if you will. And so we are hailing from a different generation. And we speak through this conduit, for this conduit, me, Carrie, is part of that future generation that we are all moving towards, one might say. And so we have learned certain things, and we are learning from you as you now, currently, for there is no real separation in time from one perspective. So let us go back to the subject at hand. So we would invite you to see that, oh, I'm hearing the advisory. So I'm seeing they're calling themselves the advisory group versus, so when you give advice or so I'm being called to play with it. Okay, so let's play. So let's play with that. And of course, I play with words very differently than a lot of other people do. So counsel, it seems to me, in my view, so I'm on Edam Online. It's a good place to see like the base of these words. Counsel, okay, we're gonna keep going. Noun, device, appease, practice, peace, prophecy, license. It also comes from to see, consideration, to see. So it keeps coming back. I'm being called to that. It's interesting because it forms all or part of clairvoyant, deja vu, druid, all kinds of words here. Kaleidoscope. I know. It is the hypothetical source of evidence for its existence provided by the Sanskrit Veda, I know. So it means to know, wise, vision. So anyways, that's the etymology of advice and advice. So these beings that we're all connected to are basically like we're the advisors from another version of you, an aspect that sees, that knows what's happening. So they know according to one perspective, we'll say. And while we do not know everything, of course, we see you because we are you. We see the past and present through you, in your eyes from one perspective, yet through our eyes, we see through the one perspective. And so we are a collective of that one perspective, taken into units of information and energy. And while we may not be directly related to you, the listener, the viewer, we are all connected through the viewing, if you will, of the human collective perspective. And this is all a play on words. And so we are being called to shift our energy and to get out of our own way, to go into a place of retreat, one might say. But this is a play on words as well. For we are not being called to back off. And they're saying we, like you and I, all of us humans. We are not being called to stop and step away from what it is that we are creating together. We are being called to unify as one resource. And through this energy of unification, we have access to more resources. All right, so they've talked about this before. It's a very specific message. Like, the more we unify, the more we see that we have more resources. And the fact that we go, wait a minute, why are we fighting each other for these resources? Instead, we recognize that each of us has something to offer and bring to the table. So it's time for us to come back into unification and just work together rather than try to destroy our resources. For while we, and I'm hearing pony up, play on words, we are being called to let go of the need to concede to someone else's ideology of what this reality needs. We are being called to go back within to our own home. I'm hearing homeward bound retreat. Go within and feel into the template of the human. And as we do this, we see, we know, we see more than what we thought we knew before, or we see more than we thought we could see. For now, when we allow this energy to move through us rather than standing against something, we move with the current, we see the current, and we become the currency or the value, the system that becomes the value, the system that we value, that we come to value. And we let go of the old system that has lost its connection to the source, that has lost its connection as the conduit. Instead, it has charged through us, if you will, over and over again, and we have put it in charge of us. And so therefore, we do not concede to someone else regulating our behaviors. We become the regulators. I'm hearing that song in my head. We become that which creates the regulations. And this is a play on words. We regulate our own system and implementation of that system through coherence, through the inner coherence of the heart that allows us to move through all of the speculation and find ourselves co-creating through a new frequency. As we do this, a new frequency unbinds us from the old lackluster version of us, the old lackluster version of what we gave our power away to. All right, so I'm just going to pause for a minute. So I'm playing with the word concede because I'm being called to, and it's to yield, to give way, to consent, to agree. I'm on Edamon line. Now, of course, so there's something to this. Oh, here we go. Let's go to the earlier version, which is cede, C-E-D-E. It's to give up, to go away, to avoid. to withdraw. So there is something important to this, because the message in my previous video was about yin. And that yin is about kind of holding, to slow down. It was turtle. Slow and steady wins the race. We're not giving up or giving in by us finding our rhythm, by us observing and not jumping right into the mix, what's happening is some people feel like they have to jump up and take action. They need to fight up against something that's happening. But what I'm being shown is, if we can observe what's happening, we can then make choices that are from a deeper point of recognition. And when we go into that depth, the yin, the feminine, the softness, the flow, exploring from the depths of emotions and that darkness, it's like turning off the lights and sitting in silence. You can actually see a lot with eyes to see, rather than just turning on the lights and looking from our physical eyes. When we go internal, we internalize, we go into our third eye, our inner eye, where we can then, I'm hearing inner eye see. We see what's going on inside of us, we recognize what's going on around us, and we don't become reactionary. We instead respond in accordance with accord, right? You create an accord, an agreement. So we're not agreeing to saying it has to be done through battle. So I'm being called to play with that. And while this may take time from one perspective, and we are using time as a concept because we are all obligated, if you will, or we have all conceded it to time. We've agreed, if you will, to operate within certain parameters that allow us to move through this reality in a particular growth pattern, signature, or frame, if you will, of existence. So the operational rules seem as if it is taking a really long time. But it is these moments of interaction. It is these moments of, that's a play on words, inner action, and allowing ourselves to co-create from a place of, I'm seeing someone underneath the water, looking at the ripples, but not being affected by what's going on top of the water. We are being called to action, if you will, by going inside and transforming ourselves from the inside out. As we do this, we transform that which is outside of us. We transform our options. Once we do this, I'm hearing once in a blue moon. So there's a play on words about the full moon and just some of the moon type energies and the theme of yin, which is the moon, exploring the dark side of the moon. There's a theme around that. And I'm not just referring to Pink Floyd, which is a wonderful album, Dark Side of the Moon, but what I'm being shown is we see things that were hidden. We see things that weren't there before because we're going within to reflect on them, to observe it happening in other people. And what that does is we're creating a space then in time that allows us to then activate a resonance, a harmony. I'm seeing the pineal, the pituitary, glandular activation in the brain. Because if we're always fire, 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 we burn out the candle at both ends. And we're not able to truly see for an extended period of time. What they're showing me is we can't go the distance. And I talked about that in my previous video as one of the themes. If we're constantly fire, 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 we have to allow ourselves to produce the appropriate chemicals that allow us to utilize the energy that's stored inside of us and not burn through the storage too quickly. For all of us have a reservoir inside of us, and I referred to it in my previous video as the Kundalini. It's beyond the Kundalini, that's just part of it. The energy that moves up the serpentine rainbow, if you will, the rainbow bridge, the serpentine energy in the spine, that which flows up the ladder, the chimney, the drip, drip, drip down the chimney, that which is inside of us, the seed that grows into the flower, the acorn that becomes the mighty oak, and so on and so forth. We share this because many of you are opening this channel that was previously inaccessible before. When you open this channel or when you open this door, you become more. You are able to access more. You are able to see more, remember more, feel more. And because of that, you are then able to create more. Therefore, more is available to each and every one of you as you work on yourself. And so we are constantly in that state of, I'm hearing advisory. So that was a play on words. It's like a weather advisory, right? We're being advised on the weather because it's a warning, but it's also recognizing it's in preparation. So we're preparing for whatever is coming our way by allowing ourselves to slow down, to feel, to utilize our resources, to gather our energy, to get grounded, to go into the heart. And we would like to play with this for a moment because there are so many resources that we all have access to, not only within the human body, in the template or the architecture, if you will, of the human, but inside the earth are so many resources that have yet to be drawn up, that have yet to be understood, that are just now in the beginning stages of being used for certain projects, that have yet to be shown to the public. And you might wonder why. And we would also say, yes, why? Yet now is the time to say no more. I do not agree with all that is being utilized not to be available for me. And the more we allow ourselves to find the resonance and the harmonic of the heart and to work with these adaptations in the human body, the more we are given in response to our responsibility. The more responsible we become, the more responsive we become to our reality in a positive way, instead of fighting our way, if you will, through the field to fight for more resources. We begin instead to utilize the resources that are already here available for us at our disposal that were previously disposed of, that were forgotten. And we begin to remember that all can be utilized as a resource should we choose to utilize our resources. Okay, so I had to pause for a moment. I'm actually going to keep going into flow, but I kind of am like laughing because the guides are talking a lot about resources. And they've done this in a lot of the videos that I've done over the past. And I wanted to just talk briefly about this. When they use the word resources, it's everything at our disposal. It's our intuition. It's our ability to heal. Help not only ourselves heal, but help others to heal. It's our ability to find water, right, through dowsing. It's our ability to work with biological architecture. It is our telepathy, right? It's our ability to channel information from other beings who are more advanced than us, that know more than we do in this particular version or template of a human. Future versions of us that maybe are already using all of these things, right? Or let's say past versions of us, we're talking about maybe Atlantean days or the Egyptian times when they were very much involved with alchemy that we've kind of lost temporarily, if you will, that we're rediscovering. Now, they're also referring to resources that are inside of the earth. And this is a little complicated because I've been shown just these massive areas in the earth that are being utilized for, batteries. I mean, we could look at the lithium situation, or even thinking about when diamonds were a big deal to be. Now we're making diamonds, which is amazing. But I'm just being shown that these resources, and again, I'm hearing a lot of this was put on a shelf. So a lot of the stuff that we have access to, we just don't know what we're supposed to do with it. Or we don't even realize it's right under our feet. Like, we're looking for answers on how to be sustainable when the earth is like, here, this is your answer. You know, and so part of that, what they're showing me is part of the reason we haven't had the answers is because we've been applying, this is what I'm just going to say what's coming through. We've been applying the wrong mathematics. Wonder if I'm going to go into that flow right now. Let me just tune in. They're asked, so I'm being shown to talk about that at a different time, but to just remind everybody that we can't see unless we're looking, and looking with eyes to see. So if you haven't opened up your intuition, it may not make any sense at all. But what I mean is, oh my gosh, I mean, I could play with this a lot. It's like reading a book, and I've talked about this before, at a certain age, when you're 12. And then you go back and read the same book when you're 25. And then you go back and read the same book when you're 45. And every time you read it, it's like reading a whole new book, because you missed so much the first time around, or you didn't understand it at all. And then all of a sudden you're like, oh, that's what that meant. So it's the same thing. What the guides are saying is that's almost like a dimensional quality. You have more dimension to your existence when you have more experience. They're utilizing that, and they're saying it's kind of the same thing. Once you open and expand your ability to read the field, to read energy, to read information from a more expansive and advanced perspective, you get a different reading. It's totally different. And so then all of a sudden you go, oh, that's how I apply. That makes sense now. Can't believe I never thought of that. So they're showing me that that's naturally going to be happening for the scientific community. Almost like, okay, I'm being called to use an example. When I went through cranial sacral training, one of the workshops that I attended, we were like in day 3 of the workshop, and this gentleman came in and was just like, I'm so excited, I just have to share this with everyone. I am part of a think tank. We work on algorithms to solve large probabilities and things, and I've been working on this for years, this algorithm, and just in 3 days of doing this cranial sacral therapy, I thought of it last night. I got it. I have it. Now I'm going to be able to make this amazing discovery. That's what they're showing me I'm getting goosebumps, a perfect example, because you open up that channel and all of a sudden your inner resource, your inner genius activates. And these things that seemed complicated before, or seemed like there was no answer, will have an answer. And it's not that the answer wasn't there the whole time. We're just able to see it. So all of a sudden, we'll be able to start applying these things, not only to our lives, but to technology, to our resources. And it's really important that we are coherent and we are in our hearts when and as this happens. Because when you have an inner, I'm hearing the mad scientist effect, you can create something beautiful out of nuclear energy or something awful out of nuclear energy. It's that yin and yang I was talking about in the previous video also. We have all of that at our disposal. So what are we going to do with it? And the time is now for us to show that to the world, basically. Like, hey, we want to create from here, not just from here. We want to create from that merge of the divine feminine and the divine masculine. And I'm not just regarding sexuality, I'm regarding what that represents: action, stillness, fire, water, right? It's like this the mix, that perfect energy, the line that goes in between. We want to work with all of it in a positive way that allows us to harness things to better the earth, to better our survival opportunities and I'm not talking about survival mode. I'm talking about thrive versus survive, which I talked about. I did a video called Thrive versus Survive. I would invite you guys to watch that if you want. And so while we could get into the mathematics, and perhaps we will at some point, we would just like to say and end on this note. We each are harnessing an inner capability of light, an inner light quotient, if you will, that as it comes online allows us to amplify this spark. And as we amplify this from within, it lights up the dark and it allows us to see more, feel more, reflect more, and to see through the dark and recognize the dark has always been there, yet we are all working together to harmonize in a more bountiful texture, if you will, a new way of interacting with, through, and as source, as the resource of a continuation of life force. And this is a little bit broad and doesn't seem like a specific message, yet it is very specific. Each of us is a specific piece of the puzzle. We each hold a part of the spark of the entirety of the flame of wholeness and unification of the source of where we came from and where we are going, where we are now. Okay, so I'm going to end on that note. I hope that made sense and was helpful for someone. The other message that's coming through is we have more, I'm seeing like firecrackers going off. Like, oh, wow, that just got discovered. Oh, wow, that just got discovered. It's like a domino effect. So once these dominoes start happening, it allows us to, you guys, in the snap of a finger, everything will be different. It already is, in essence. So, okay, in love and light, namaste. To be continued.